Hey, good morning. It's Fort Worth Playboy, and this is the Fort Worth Playboy Morning Show. And I'm glad you're here. What do we cover on the Fort Worth Playboy Morning Show? We cover game, pickup, relationships, and sex. And when I say we, it's usually my Playboy's bunny and myself. And she will be here with me on Saturday morning to answer your questions, which you can at any time put in the comment box on YouTube, and I will do my absolute best to get them answered during the broadcast to the best of my ability. I'm still getting better at it or trying to improve. We always begin the program with a maxim, and today is a maxim that I've not covered before, and it's kind of tricky, and it really doesn't fall. It's more advanced in game, but it's maxim number 61. And it's interesting because Chateau Ortiz kind of tried to stay out of the romantic stuff. He was very practical, but he says among love's many benefits is its capacity for diminishing to insignificance those differences that would have prevented its flourishing in the first place. Corollary to Maxim 61 is avoid emphasizing any value differences until love or mind blowing orgasm has taken root. And what I believe he is trying to convey is that love or that emotion, that chemical soup, that feeling, that belief allows you to suspend disbelief. It allows people to accomplish things that they wouldn't normally accomplish. Again, irrational self-confidence. It allows you to have irrational beliefs that would not normally actually you'd say, oh, this is a bad idea, or where girls like, he can't keep a job. A love allows that to gloss over. It diminishes to insignificance those differences that would have prevented it from flourishing in the first place. It tends to self-perpetuate. So it tends to look, when you have that emotion or you're good at creating that emotion, as most players are, girls will look past your shortcomings or what would logically cause her to say, this is probably not a good idea. And you do see it all the time. You will meet dynamic, attractive girls that have it going on, and you meet their boyfriend or their husband, and he's a complete dud. And you're like, this is the guy she's married to? And love allows her to cover for a lot of his inadequacies. And it goes both ways. Guys get emotionally attached to a girl who's been sexually abused and been in rehab and has two different, she's married to two men at the same time. I mean, you name it. And the emotion, the will override his core reasoning, which is, this is a bad idea. This would be a terrible choice. And then he'll get her pregnant. So that's the real deal. And what I like about the second point is this is important in game, is that avoiding emphasizing any value differences until you're banging or until love has taken hold is absolutely essential. Again, when you're in game, especially within the first couple of meetups, you can see where things might not be the best idea down the road, but she'll do for now or tonight. So you have to balance that, because guys are always like going, well, what's her body count and this and that. And really, remember, it's sex first, then relationship, maybe. Let the sex start. Get that going over and over. Then the relationship can take hold and flourish from there. Too many guys go, oh, I don't think this would be a good fit. Well, you don't even know if you can have sex with her yet. You're already like knocking her out of the running, and you don't even know if you can get the basics done. So avoid emphasizing any value differences until love or mind blowing. And this is especially important dating younger girls, because guys always go, hey, what's the key to dating 10, 15, 20 years younger? And the first rule is you don't mention it. You treat her like you would treat anybody your own age. You treat her the same as you treat somebody that's 3, 5 years younger than you. You don't bring it up. If they want to bring it up, that's great. But generally, if you treat them like a equal, or a peer, they roll right into that role. Girls will fit themselves into the role that you have set for them. So Maxim number 61, among love's many benefits is its capacity for diminishing to insignificance those differences that would have prevented its flourishing in the first place. Corollary to Maxim number 61, avoid emphasizing any value differences until love or mind-blowing orgasm has taken root. Okay, good. Matt has a question, and I think it's a good question. I try to answer this across the board because it's a very common question. I probably need to answer it more complete than I can today. He says, do you care about a woman's body count for how many sexual partners she's had? I personally, it was not anything that I've ever really thought about. And I did not realize how important it is for a lot of men until I had been doing this for some time. And that's just me. I've always been very prolific. So I never really, maybe it's self-centeredness, just never really thought too much about like what somebody else's sexual history would be. But this is what I found, and being in this world and realizing how important it actually is. So when you talk about like body count, it's every person or every man, he makes his own decisions on this. And I think a lot of it's like hardwired, kind of like you like black girls, or you like blondes, or you like redheads. There's something, there's something inherent and due to environment and upbringing and their experiences with women that they decide where they kind of fall. And it may be more important the younger you are. Because I would say like past 35, nobody really thinks about it that much. It just, at some point you're like, everybody has had a lot of sex. But again, the only research that I can back up that a lower number is a positive is there is some hard research that girls that either were a virgin or married the one man that they had sex with had better outcomes as far as longevity of marriage. And even just going to her spouse and another man really significantly lowered the longevity of the marriage. I've seen hard numbers for that, but that's the only thing. And again, this is one of those things that and I don't think it's a good idea to like try to persuade men that one thing is better, because a lot of it is like hardwired into them and due to their experience, their desires, what their risk tolerance. So there's a lot. It's probably no different than like finances. I mean, there's so many layers that you kind of have to like. All you can do is kind of like if they have certain questions, you need to find out where they're at, and that way you can, for lack of a better phrase, help them with risk tolerance. But it is a very individual decision. Some do care a lot. Some are ambivalent. Some don't care. It's the whole gamut, and it really comes down to that individual and where they're at. It may be important when they're younger, and then 20 years later, it's not that important. And that's how, if you're dealing with lots of people, you have to approach it, and you will approach it as you see fit. And as Barron says, care about how she treats you. That's correct. Next slide. Never give a straight answer. She asks what you do for a living. They're not always necessarily looking for like income. They're looking for, if a guy is a traveling salesman, he's going to have a different lifestyle, and he's not going to be at home as much as a guy who's a local plumber. You're just, what do you do for a living as a good opening? And women, they need simple. And it's always good to like keep her guessing. Tell her you're a pimp. Tell her you're a sportsman. Never give a straight answer. I think somebody else had international arms dealer. Oh, I'm always falling for that trap. When I become an engineer, I'll just tell them I'm an engineer because women don't know what that means anyway. Again, there's certain things you just want to stay away from, like anything like I like video games or I like Bitcoin, or, there's things you just want to avoid. Mostly, and it really upsets guys, but anything computer related, it's better to just tell them that, you're like unemployed and that you got out of jail that morning, or that you work at a convenience store, or that you pump gas. That's anything to deal with computers just shuts girl. They just go, I don't know why. It's just the way they're wired. But what do you do for a living should never be answered with a straight question. She should be as unknowing and as confused as she was before she asked it. And that will be fun. Because again, girls don't remember. That what they remember is that you made them laugh or that you blew them off. So that's the real deal on asking never give a straight practice. I was basically a middle-aged white guy, and I would tell them that I was like an MMA fighter. And they just look at me. I got like my ears are not fucked up. My nose is not fucked up. And they know something was off, but they're too polite to say anything. And they bring it up like later. They'd be like, I can't believe you told me like you fought in the MMA. I'm a middle class white guy. There's no MMA in my system. And it's obvious, but you can answer that way. You can tell them you're a hit man. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. As long as you don't give them a straight answer. They don't need that. They've got enough of that in their life. Too many guys giving them straight answers. Next slide. Very important. Very important that you have a sense of urgency when it comes to a certain extent, a sense of urgency as far as like getting the ball rolling. Attraction has an expiration date. Some gentlemen in this world call it like a escalation window. You have a window of time that you can escalate physically from like stranger to in your bed, or it doesn't happen. Attraction has an expiration date. Girls will not like you indefinitely. Meaning if a girl is interested in you and you have a temporary window to take action, it is not a permanent condition. If you don't make a move fast, she will go cold. Yes, I misread him, she says. Now I'm embarrassed. That's a big thing. Girls will go, oh, God, I don't think he likes me. I'm very embarrassed. They'll shut down. I'm like, you can't restart it. Mike is really cuter, da-da-da. Some guy will get in front of her that will take action. Strike while the pussy is hot. Again, this is one thing that if you talk to players, and you talk to a lot of players over time, what would you change about your old game, or what do you regret most? And it's they did not approach and escalate more women faster. Because once you kind of like realize how this works and how easy it is, and you have a system, you start moving faster. And that's where these guys will see like 4 or 5 girls in 1 week, and he's not completely exhausted because he's got a system. And it's like a factory. You're literally putting them in the front and assembling them. It's like an assembly line. And then they shoot out the back, and they're carrying like a water to an Uber from your apartment. And you're just every night, you're just changing girls, putting one in the front end, and the just fuck girl is leaving out the back end. That's the real deal. But you have to take action soon. It doesn't mean like lose your mind, but you have to make some type of move, offer a day, talk to her, say hi, something to establish your presence and get the ball rolling, and then get her in front of you. 99% of this is simply getting her in front of you. Too many guys are dying, especially doing online dating, because they drag it out to a week to 2 weeks of texting. All the guys that have a high level of success online, it's app, text, See you tomorrow. They get in front of the girl because men are stronger in person. And then once you're in person, you have a system to move them from that stranger to in your bed that night. In worst case scenario, the second night. With my how to build a dating system, I've never had a guy go to 3 nights. So you become better at picking the girls that will move to fast sex, and the girls are more excited to see you because you look different, you sound different, you're interesting, you're fun. And they're like, I'm going to fuck this guy because I'm not going to let him get by me without experiencing this. So you're at an advantage. But attraction has an expiration date. And all these guys, a lot of times they lose women, and they lose a lot of women over time simply by dragging their fucking feet and going, oh, I don't know if she likes me. You know that a girl likes you when you ask her out and she says yes. That's all you need to know. She'll either say yes, no, but I can on another date, or she'll say no. So 2 are yeses, 1 is no. So that's how you find out. Guys drag their feet, and that's one thing with players is once you have your system dialed in, you need to start plugging as many girls in there as you can. And you'll get very good at picking the winners. You just waste less time. So next slide. Okay, hang on for a second. Let's roll back. Bouncer 182 has a good question. How long is that temporary window? It's going to depend on the girl, but give it, usually I don't see more than, if we're talking about a girl that has no like connections to you, she's not social circle, usually about a week, 3 days to a week. You need to start making things happen. What I've seen is things die in day 7, 8, 9, 10 to the 14, and then it's over because you got to move fast. If logistics allow for it, if she travels for work, she has kids, all kinds of things that slow it down, and you have to work with that. But again, you want it to be as soon as feasible, as soon as possible. And every girl, and again, some of this you don't have any control over, because most girls, if they do flake, it's because an ex reached back out and came back into their life, or an ex-husband showed back up, or the father of their children, or some dude got out of jail that she had been fucking before he went to jail. So you need to move as fast. You don't depend on there being a window. Just move as fast as possible, and you'll see what over time. But don't, and so many guys, once the window closes, it's more trouble than it's worth to try to reopen. All these guys are like, well, I'll try later. No, it's done. It would take more work. It's like when a relationship goes bad, sometimes it's easier to just let that thing go bad and find a new one than it would be to repair the one that's all fucked up. So you have to balance your energy, your interest, and what you've already invested in this girl. But again, as soon as like within 3 or 4 days, and you talk to a lot of like guys that do a lot of online stuff, and even girls do appreciate, even if you meet them, you got to start taking action right that day or the next day and start moving, because girls aren't going to do anything. If you don't act upon them, they're not going to do anything. They'll just wait for the next guy. So if you're taking action, you got to like pull them along, push them along, drag them along. But don't always kind of think of it as time is against you. You need to have a little bit of a sense of urgency. It shouldn't leak over. Girls, you don't want to seem frantic, but you should have an internal sense of urgency to get the job done. And business is no different. The longer it takes to get a deal done, or to get somebody to sign a sales sheet or an agreement to buy, the less likely it will happen. They get distracted. They find a better deal. Another deal shows up. They lose interest. It's no different whatsoever. It's a very human condition, and it has very little, if anything, to do with you and how sharp you are. So there's so many things that are out of our control, but you can control your speed, so you can move quick and get in there and get in front of her and move her from stranger to in your bed, and then you rinse and repeat. Next slide, which is exactly what we're talking about. Getting a girl in front of you, banging her, and then rinsing and repeating. If you're casually fucking a girl, you need to fuck that girl every time you meet up. Again, you have categories. When you run rotations, you have girlfriend candidates, you have fuck buddies and friends with benefits, and they're different. You have girls that have potential and girls that you want to keep in the sex only category. And that way, there's no confusion and no hurt feelings. So if you're casually fucking a girl, she's in a friends with benefits or a fuck buddy situation. Every time you get together, you need to bang. I don't care if it's like standing up between the car door in a parking lot. Doesn't matter. You need to make it happen before you send her on her way. That way she knows what she's there for. Otherwise, she thinks this may lead to a relationship. And she's going to be pissed when you decline or you start dodging her. So then she stops fucking and it's totally your fault. Again, if you're casually fucking a girl and you miss a session or you like meet up and you guys go to lunch together and then start doing boyfriend girlfriend things, it's going to confuse her and it's going to put her out eventually. She's going to stop fucking you because she's going to say, hey, this guy has potential as a boyfriend. Then when you decline for any exclusivity, she's like, well, you're getting cut off. Or she won't say a word. She'll just get a boyfriend. So you'll get out of the running. So just know that this is one of those things that players either know intuitively or somebody taught them, but you will manage your rotation. You'll manage girls better and they'll be happier because they know their role and they know where they stand with you. And you'll hear them say it all the time. They'll go, yeah, the guy that I'm fucking is not a guy that will never be my boyfriend. He doesn't have those qualities. It's not the right fit, but you're the guy that she's fucking. And you both have a purpose and you both fulfill a role for each other. So that is the important part. But again, if you're casually fucking a girl, you need to bang every time you meet up without fail. Again, it confuses girls when you just meet up and do girlfriend, boyfriend things, or you just hang out or say hi. She starts getting strange ideas like there may be something more there. And all you did was you didn't manage your time right and you had to get back to work. But you should always either do a quick, but the sex is the reason for the relationship. That's why you're there. That's what makes you different than the next guy or the guy that she's making wait for 2 weeks because he has the potential to be a boyfriend. So otherwise she thinks this may lead to a relationship and then we're all confused and she's going to be pissed when you decline this. And now you're getting cut off. Then she stops fucking and it's totally your fault. And in this case, it totally is your fault. Next slide. Any player with any time in the game has seen this. If you're in your 20s, you've only been doing this like 2 or 3 years, you won't have seen the outcomes quite as much. But if you've been doing something for 20, 30, 40 years, you've seen girls change. If you see a cute girl, you need to make it a run at her right now. Far too many men will wait. Then they see her a year later and she's gained 50 pounds. She's pregnant. She's got a face tattoo. Girls' maximum attractiveness window is small, very small. I mean, it might be a year to 2 years max, their entire life on the young side, and often very temporary. Don't miss it, thinking she'll stay the same forever. Girls do not stay the same forever. Even just that first semester at college is worth 30 to 40, 50 pounds sometimes now. And they truly they struggle to get it off. It's not like it used to be where they gained the freshman 15 and then by their sophomore year, they'd be back in shape because they go home at Christmas and their mom or dad would be like, oh, honey, you got to lose weight, because all they've been doing is partying and eating like shit for the first semester. But now they gain 30 to 50 pounds and they just stay there. So again, wherever they're at, if you see a cute girl, she may not be, there's just too many things dragging her in different directions. Bad food, laziness, careers, all these things that just beat girls up physically and mentally is bad for their appearance and bad for their attitude, you've got to make a move now. If you see a cute girl, the chances she'll be cute in a year or two are very slim. And guys always drag their feet. Again, that's just like we were talking earlier. It's like you have an escalation window. You have attraction has an expiration date. And that can even be your attraction for her, because you turn around in 3 months and she's put on 30 pounds. You're like, what the hell? And guys see it all the time. And every time I put one of these tweets up, guys will jump into the comments. They'll be like, yeah, I dated this girl, and then we broke up, and I didn't see her for like 6 months. And the next time I saw her, she gained 50 pounds. And they can't lose it. It's just, or they, get a face tattoo, or they get a sleeve done. You're like, because, something else is going on. It doesn't always necessarily have anything to do with you, but they destroy their appearance inadvertently. And now, or like she's pregnant, they'll be pregnant and waddling around, without a boyfriend. It's all kinds of crazy shit. So just know, and it's not a negative, but it's to give you a sense of urgency to take action when you see a girl that's attractive. That way you don't drag your feet and turn around and go, God, I miss that. It only takes a couple of these and you go, oh shit. And then you'll be on the ball. But we're just trying to warn you ahead of time of what will happen. And we don't want it to happen to you and you fumble a girl that would have had good potential. So it's just about self-preservation. Don't give her a shoulder to cry on. Give her a dick to ride on. Do not, under any circumstances, become an emotional tampon, especially for a girl you're not fucking. Again, if a girl declines to meet up, next her. If she meets up and you're not moving her towards sex, she got, you make progress, you make progress, and then on the third date, she pushes you all the way. Oh, I'm not comfortable with any of this. Next her. Again, you should always be, she's either fucking you or she can fuck off. But don't give a girl a shoulder to cry on. You're not there. Again, guys have said, they've went out with a girl and then she'll start talking about their ex-boyfriend or another guy. And you need a couple lines in your pocket. Just go, hey, don't you have any girlfriends you can talk to about this stuff? I'm not really the right person for it. Or, yeah, I don't really want to hear about that. But I like the first one. I mean, what I usually do is I use the version of, hey, don't you have any girlfriends that you can talk to about this? I'm definitely not the right person for this. So, and girls generally will go, oh, and they either were thinking you're a nicer guy than you are, or they were taking advantage of your good graces, or they're just naive or dumb. But you have to kind of guide them gently back on track, which is, hanging out with you and getting banged. So that's the real deal. And just like the Reaper says, I think you can see it in the comments, if you must give her a shoulder, pee at a shoulder for her to put her legs on. Again, that comfort her with sex. Reward her with sex. Oh, she's upset about another guy. Well, she needs to get under a new guy, which is you. And she'll feel better about herself. Orgasms tend to have an anesthetic effect for girls. And they tend to start forgetting about all of their worries and all of the guy that just walked off. So don't give her a shoulder to cry on. Give her a dick to ride on, and everyone benefits. And that's what you're there for. That's your role. If you guys have any questions, by all means, put them in the chat box. I got to head out. Got a big day ahead of us. I will be back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. I appreciate your questions. My apologies if I didn't get to a question, but there's a good chance that I will address it in the next couple of shows. And I thank you for your viewership. Thank you for your patronage. If you would like to purchase any of Bunny's products, they're at myplayboysbunny.gumroad.com. And any of my products are at fortwithplayboy.gumroad.com. And I wish you the best day ever. Bunny's a very good cheerleader. She'd be telling you all kinds of stuff. So I hope you have a good day, gentlemen, and I'll see you tomorrow.